Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. New Year's Eve is almost here. Big Fox's Maggie Hall spoke to some area restaurants and residents about their plans to kick off 2023.
While many will be ringing in the new year this Saturday, others will be working. I spoke to some local businesses about how they're preparing for this New Year's Eve and a local resident about their New Year's plans.
Oh, any holiday is really crazy to prepare for, honestly. Getting all the orders around, making sure things are in the right place so then you can represent everything out in a fashionable order. It's just crazy most times.
Honeydukes is hosting a New Year's Eve tea party.
We are offering a New Year's Eve tea party where you can come, kick back, and relax before you venture out to your nightly activities of crazy.
After sipping some tea at Honeydukes, you can pop some champagne over at the Radisson.
This year we're offering a package for two. It's called our Bubbly Package, and it is a stay for two. You'll get all these fun little favors for New Year's. Your midnight bubbly, and then dinner for two, and then we have a great band from 9 to midnight, and just stay and hang out with us in a very intimate setting.
While Lindsay Perkins doesn't have any exact plans yet for New Year's Eve, she has in mind what she'll be doing this Saturday evening.
Probably have a giant party, or you find a giant party and just have a really good time.
I asked Lindsay why she thinks people enjoy having large celebrations for New Year's.
I think a lot of people probably see it as like an opportunity to put some things behind them or like move forward and grow or something.
Whether you're staying in or going out this Saturday, have a very happy New Year. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News, Corning.
Final preparations underway in Times Square for a big New Year's Eve celebration. People from all over the world will gather tomorrow at the crossroads of the world to welcome in 2023. Crews doing a test run Friday of the ball drop, making sure everything will go off without any issues.
I think people are ready to celebrate. We're going to be back like we were in 2019. It was one of our most fabulous celebrations. People are coming from all over the world here to New York City to celebrate with us, and we are ready to have fun.
The theme for this year's Crystal Ball, the gift of love. Multiple local fire departments participated in relief efforts in the Buffalo snowstorm. Firefighters from Montour Falls, Watkins Glen, Odessa, and Cohocton aided in EMS and rescue efforts. The snowstorm was a deadly one, with more than 40 reported deaths resulting. Cohocton Fire Department Chief Gilman and Assistant Chief Bixby used an ATV with snow tracks for EMS transportation in places the snow won't allow ambulances to go. Police say they've arrested a suspect for fatally stabbing 4 University of Idaho students. The suspect taken into custody in Pennsylvania. Caroline Shively has more.
Authorities arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Koberger in eastern Pennsylvania Friday in connection with the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. The suspect was taken into custody near Scranton. He is expected to be charged with 4 homicides. The development is the biggest in the case since the November fatal stabbings of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. The students' bodies were found at a rental home near campus sometime in the early morning hours. Autopsies showed all 4 were likely asleep during the deadly attacks. The case received international attention, and police say thousands of tips were called in to a special FBI call center. Dina Demetrius, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The 118th Congress is set to be seated on January 3rd. But as Lauren Blanchard reports from Washington, there is one very big problem hanging over Republicans' heads.
Just days away from the next U.S. Congress taking office, and it's still unclear who will lead the largest chamber for the next 2 years. Nancy Pelosi's name already taken off the wall above the House Speaker's office, but whose will replace it is less certain.
I think we obviously are going to see a lot of drama the first week that we return.
Republican Kevin McCarthy is facing a messy battle to the Speaker's gavel, despite winning a GOP leadership election in November. On January 3rd, when the full House votes, his name needs to be on a majority of all the ballots.
Kevin McCarthy has a math problem. He needs 5 votes of people who have said that they will never vote for Kevin McCarthy.
A faction of unhappy Republicans say they will write another name or no name at all.
There is no plan B here. The plan is to get McCarthy elected as Speaker.
The Clerk of the House, Cheryl Johnson, will oversee the Speaker's election. If Republicans can't get McCarthy elected until they do or find a replacement, Johnson, a Democratic appointee, will by default lead the House.
I think that the choice is actually secondary to voting a Speaker to get unified and get an agenda done. This is a real distraction for Republicans.
According to guidance first obtained by Politico, some House staffers will not be paid if lawmakers cannot decide on a Speaker by January 13th. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
New York's salary transparency law will take effect later next year. The law requires employers to list salary ranges for all advertised jobs and promotions. The laws are part of an effort to help close racial and gender pay gaps. The governor says this law will reduce discriminatory wage setting and hiring practices and help level the playing field for all workers. Volkswagen is recalling more of its Beetles. The automaker is recalling nearly 40,000 additional Beetles because they have potentially dangerous Takata airbags. The recall covers Beetles from the 2015 and 2016 model years. The inflators can explode with too much force and hurl shrapnel. Takata used ammonium nitrate to create a small explosion to inflate airbags in a crash, but the chemical can deteriorate over time when exposed to high temperatures and humidity. Dealers will replace the driver's airbag in the Beetles. 4 people escape any injuries after their helicopter crashes in the waters off Davis Islands in Florida. Justin Matthews reports.
Sky Fox overhead as law enforcement marine units surround the area where a helicopter went into the water. You can see a streak of oil just a couple hundred yards from shore on the southern tip of Davis Islands near Peter O. Knight Airport. The Tampa Police Department says the 3 passengers on board were on a 1-hour helicopter tour of Tampa Bay. The passengers were a 59-year-old woman, a 62-year-old man, and a 28-year-old man. TPD says the pilot was returning to the airport, then heard a loud noise and lost power. That's when the helicopter went into the water. Now, someone on a boat nearby helped the passengers out of the water and took them to shore. The Tampa Police Marine Unit rescued the 30-year-old pilot. No one was injured. Now, TPD is working with the FAA and the NTSB on this investigation.
Police say the man who helped those in the helicopter? Tampa Bay Buccaneers backup quarterback Blaine Gabbert. All right, your complete holiday forecast is next, plus this.
A shortage of 911 dispatchers across the country has city leaders now scrambling to find a solution. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. I'll have a closer look coming up.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
A few showers draped their way across portions of the state, but for the most part, it was another very dry and warm day with that sunshine. Significant snowmelt has been made all across the state, even bringing some flooding concerns to areas of Buffalo with the snowmelt and the rainfall that's moving its way in. Now, we'll note that through the overnight, we're going to stay quiet. We'll stay under mostly cloudy skies and still some pretty mild temperatures, looking at low temperatures holding into the upper 30s, where typically this time of the year, we're falling into the teens. Now, we will note that as we head into our Saturday, we're going to see some changes. Still warmth around. We have still 50s on the board for high temperatures, but by the evening hours, we'll have a chance for some light rain showers as the frontal system will be swinging its way through. And I say light, with only about 1/10 of an inch of accumulation expected. Now, it could bring a few showers into that New Year's Eve forecast, but then we'll have some quieter but cloudy skies to linger into that Sunday and Monday forecast as those mild temperatures continue. Might be a little pullback in the temperatures, but we're still above average by more than than 10 degrees. Now, next week is going to continue to bring some wet weather, as we'll see some rain to even snow showers possible when it comes to some of these switching temperature trends that will keep us on our toes for the new year. So rolling into the system, a cold front has been a little bit more slow moving. So that's what's holding off those showers into the evening, which does limit our threat when it comes to coverage. So pretty spotty showers, not widespread, but there was just a stray shower or two lingering at that midnight time frame. So if you plan to enjoy New Year's, note that even areas of New York might be underneath some of those showers as that ball drops. So do keep yourself wary, have that umbrella in hand, but nothing severe, just some stray showers in place. That's all that we have. Now, what we do note, again, accumulation pretty minimal, up to about 1/10 of an inch, but you have that warming still in place. With that frontal system holding off, we're going to still see some warmth. Now, not going to see the 60s like we had today, but we're going to have the 50s on the board. So we're still mild at 50 degrees by the afternoon. Showers move in, then cold air advection moves through. So when we ring in the new year, temperatures will be just around about 45 degrees. And there you can see maybe a stray shower or two, but coverage is looking super, super minimal. So some good news. Might want to have the rain jacket, but not totally necessary if you can dodge those raindrops. Now, when we head into that Sunday forecast, as cold air advection moves in, your midnight temperature is going to be around 45 degrees. So we'll see that cold air is going to be holding across the region, but still, even if we hold just around those 40s through much of the day on Sunday, that's still above average, which averages about 35. And it doesn't take long to turn that temperature trend back around. Into our Monday forecast, we're back up to about 47 degrees. We'll head into Tuesday at 51. We'll have another system that's going to be working its way in, bringing us some rain showers from Monday night into Tuesday. And then the cold air advection is going to start to take over by the end of the week, where we'll see that we have another chance to flirt with the 60s on Wednesday, but then that cold air advection moves in, and Wednesday will be our cooler but more seasonal trend that will work its way in and give us a chance for even some of those wintry-like precipitation chances by Friday.
City leaders across the country are grappling with the shortage of 911 emergency dispatchers. So many people are forced to have their calls go unanswered. In some areas, government officials are increasing salaries in the hopes of luring more people to help them. Lauren Blanchard reports from Washington.
240 million calls are made to 911 each year, according to the National Emergency Number Association. But keeping those phone lines staffed has been a growing and dangerous problem. In Kansas City, Missouri, the 911 center is short-staffed by almost a third. In some cases, people calling for help are left listening to a voicemail and delayed police response times. Kansas City's mayor is now hoping to offer a $5,000 signing bonus, plus better and more flexible hours in hopes of attracting call center employees.
And the concern isn't just from calls that are coming in now, but deterring people from calling 911 when they have an emergency. It's something that we do not want to do, and it's why we think that dire measures are needed to address this very important issue.
Kansas City's problem is not an isolated one. It's estimated there is a 30% shortage of 911 dispatchers across the country. A spokesperson for the National Emergency Number Association blames it on stress, low pay, poor benefits, and burnout. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average pay for a 911 dispatcher is about $47,000 a year. A former Chicago dispatcher says he stepped down because of crime and policing policies in his city.
I could not hear more screaming voices in my ear and telling individuals that police were coming when I knew that they were not coming.
Kansas City's mayor said they're also looking to poach dispatchers from other areas because there simply are not enough qualified applicants. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
As many people prepare to give up alcohol for dry January, non-alcoholic drinks, well, they're on the rise. And data from drink market analysis company IWSR predicts the popularity of non-alcoholic drinks will only continue to skyrocket, estimating a more than 25% growth in non-alcoholic beverages through 2026. Analysts say no and low alcohol options are outperforming other drinks in the U.S. as more people focus on their health. Non-alcoholic beer has seen the most growth, while alcohol-free spirits are also expected to increase in popularity. Hershey hit with a lawsuit, a Christmas surprise for a Wisconsin waitress, and a 1969 Corvette could be the most expensive ever sold. CJ Papa has today's business briefs.
A chocolate lover is taking Hershey to court. A New York man filing a lawsuit accusing the company of selling dark chocolate containing harmful levels of lead and cadmium. He took action 2 weeks after Consumer Reports ran scientific tests on 28 dark chocolate bars for the heavy metals. Lawsuit is seeking $5 million in damages. No comment yet from Hershey. An amazing Christmas surprise. A Wisconsin waitress was given some extra holiday cheer after receiving a $1,000 tip on Christmas. Callie Blue and her customer struck up a fun conversation during his morning meal. The server was later stunned to see how much he left for a gratuity.
That's so sweet. That's so sweet.
Blue says the money from the generous tip will be spent on food for her 4 horses. And the only 1969 Chevy Corvette Stingray convertible ever built is set to hit the auction block for the first time in January. Pre-sale begins at an estimated $2.6 million and could reach a whopping $3 million price point. If it goes for the top price, it would be the most expensive Corvette ever sold. That's business. I'm CJ Papa.
Coming up after the break.
The White House is touting President Biden's accomplishments this year, but many people feel there's still a lot of work to be done. I'm Lucas Tomlinson in Washington. I'll have that story coming up.
Border towns are seeing extra layers of security being put up between the U.S. and Mexico as federal and state law enforcement prepare for an influx of migrants. Madison Scarpino has more on this near the border in El Paso, Texas.
Here in El Paso, the National Guard put up an extra barrier of fencing with razor wire along the border, which DPS says is helping for now, but you still see a bunch of man-made holes in border fencing across the city. And in parts of downtown El Paso, it's clear that thousands of migrants are crossing over daily with nowhere to go. Over in Eagle Pass, the National Guard put up shipping containers along the border with razor wire on top to help keep people from crossing over. DPS also confirms about 10 shipping containers were put up along the end of the border in El Paso. While the city opened up the convention center downtown for more shelter space for migrants, countless people who cross the border are still sleeping on the street. Even though these migrants are here illegally, DPS says they still do everything they can to make sure these people stay safe and healthy. It's not just adult migrants in this situation. There's dozens of small children and babies with their families in the streets. A lot of them have American Red Cross blankets and receive some bags of food, but they don't have much else. Roxana Prada came across the border with her husband and 3 little girls to escape the armed conflict in Colombia. She says her family received threats since her mother is a social leader there.
There's still family of mine in Colombia who are at risk. The idea is, how can we help them so that they can find it here safe, so to speak? And obviously, this is where a good future starts for my daughters. Because of this conflict, we have to be fleeing from one side to the other, and they are always with us.
Prada tells me she believes the people persecuting her in Colombia have contacts in Mexico, so she wants to try and get farther away from the border. She says she is not going to give up and hopes the U.S. thoroughly looks at her case. In El Paso, Madison Scarpino, Fox News.
The White House is touting its victories as 2022 comes to a close. Lucas Tomlinson reports from Washington.
The White House claims a host of accomplishments, but many Americans still see high inflation and other major issues unresolved. As 2022 comes to a close, many Americans are not feeling so optimistic. Some 2/3 think the country is on the wrong track on President Biden's watch. The 80-year-old president, the oldest in U.S. history, has an approval rating that remains underwater, just 43.5%. That didn't stop Biden's chief of staff from claiming the following accomplishments.
He got over 250 bills passed. They lowered prescription drug costs. They lowered health care premiums. They brought down your energy costs. They reformed gun laws for the first time in 30 years. A record number of manufacturing jobs, the most diverse set of federal judges in history.
White House officials say they have high hopes for 2023, the press secretary tweeting, "After building the most significant legislative record since LBJ, 2023 will be a big year delivering for the American people." But former Deputy Chief of Staff to George W. Bush, Karl Rove, said in the Wall Street Journal, quote, 2023 will be focused on Mr. Biden's re-election rather than governing. The head of the Republican National Committee also weighed in.
With inflation still there, we see what's happening at the border. And so it's once again Joe Biden painting one America that he thinks exists and the American people living in the reality of more and more uncertainty.
As President Biden weighs another run for the White House, a USA Today poll says less than 1% of Americans want a president his age in 2024. In Washington, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
We'll be back in just a moment. Don't know what to do with your Christmas tree now that the holidays are over? Try recycling it. When Christmas trees are thrown away, they can wind up in landfills where the rot generates methane. That's a toxic greenhouse gas emission. Instead, some cities offer curbside pickup of old Christmas trees to be recycled into mulch for residents and nonprofits. Many states also use the trees for local fish habitats. Christmas trees can even be repurposed as food for zoo animals or a shelter and feeding area for birds. Now, if you want to recycle your Christmas tree, make sure to remove all ornaments, lights, and tinsel. Websites such as earth911.com can help you find your local Christmas tree recycling center. I'm Harriet Wallace. Thanks for watching.